Then I'm just going to run right down the agenda that you sent to me.
I'm recording this. I hope that's okay.
That's fine by me.
Okay, great.
Okay. I'll run down the agenda as you sent it to me, and any concerns or questions you have, please speak up. The first item you have here is the interaction with other police forces in Nassau, Suffolk counties, the NYPD, Amtrak, etc. I can start with the NYPD since I did over 30 years with the NYPD before I came here. I'm very familiar with their top echelon, Dermot Shea, Commissioner Tucker, their chief of department, their new chief of patrol. I know all of these people. We have a very good relationship. Kathy O'Reilly is the new chief of transit for the NYPD. She and I have known each other for probably close to 30 years anyway. So we're all of pretty much the same generation. Once I finished with the NYPD and various assignments that I had, I came over here to the MTAPD approximately 4 years ago. So my relationship with the city is very good. Nassau County, I would say it's equally good. Patty Ryder is the police commissioner in Nassau County, a good man. I know his top echelon, Kenny Lack, and some of the other chiefs out there in Nassau County. We interact probably more with them than Suffolk or perhaps some of the other local police departments out on Long Island. But as far as Suffolk County goes, they just lost their police commissioner, a very talented woman from the FBI. She left and she went over to become the director of security for Hofstra University. So we wish her well. I have not met the new Suffolk County Police Commissioner, but as soon as I can, I will certainly join in there. Am I waiting for Christy to?
No, keep going. You're good.
Okay, all right, fine. And then some of the smaller police departments, although I may not know them all, many of them I have come across. Steve McAllister is also a former NYPD individual. Ron Walsh was a chief in the Nassau County Police Department. He's now in charge of Long Beach. I'm sorry, Steve McAllister has New Hyde Park. Ron Walsh has Long Beach now. He's a former Nassau County Police Commissioner. Police chief rather. John Arrester, I know from Malvern because that's where my niece lives, and some of the other smaller police departments out there. We have a very good working relationship with the Nassau County Chiefs of Police Association and with the New York State Chiefs of Police Association. So we work very well together. We've known each other for a number of years and can pick up the phone at any time to give a call. It's funny that I'm looking over here. I see you listed Amtrak, which owns the property where Penn Station is. Amtrak, their chief of police over there, Marty Conway, is a former recruit of mine. I taught him in the police academy 100 years ago. So I know Marty very well also. So our relationship with all these departments is actually very good. I have no problem picking up the phone, calling any of them. The second item you have, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, the reason we brought that up, Chief, is because in Penn Station, there's like 5 or 6 different entities. There's your people, there's Amtrak people, there's NYPD, there's Homeland Security, there's the National Guard.
New York State Police, yeah, the National Guard. I also have a nice working relationship with the National Guard. The colonel in the National Guard has been very generous with his personnel, but he's made it very plain that their mission is solely counterterrorism. So he's not going to be helping us out with other issues such as homeless people or graffiti issues or anything else. They're there for one specific person, but they are very accommodating to us. As far as the Amtrak police, I just mentioned Marty Conway. As far as the state police goes, that's I'm trying to think. The man has an actor's name. I just slipped out the top of my head. But also the captain in charge of Troop New York City is very accommodating also. But once again, his people are concentrating on counterterrorism. All right, they're not going to be out there helping us with homeless people. For that, I have to count on the Amtrak people, and there aren't very many of them. Amtrak police, maybe a dozen, and they cover the Northeast corridor. So Marty Conway's people are pretty restricted as far as the amount of work they can do. Jersey Transit, of course, has the station here in Manhattan, but Jersey Transit has an agreement with Amtrak. Jersey Transit allows the Amtrak police to cover their station here in Manhattan because Jersey Transit Police will cover the station in New Jersey. So there's kind of a mutual agreement where Amtrak will stay here and cover the Jersey Transit area. But as far as cooperation among everybody, it's very good. The New York City Police, that's the Transit Bureau again, Kathy O'Reilly's people. Her two chiefs, Vinnie Coogan and Jerry Dykeman, are also old friends of mine. They give us, well, according to the mayor, of course, not enough people. He says there's plenty of people. The governor says there aren't enough people. I get along with these individuals. They give me as many as they can reasonably accommodate. They cover the ACE line, as you know, the 123 line as they pass through Penn Station. And they've been very accommodating with us. Our big issue with them right now is cameras. We're trying to get more cameras put up throughout Penn Station. We have a very aggressive program to get these cameras installed. There's more work to be done. And you've been in Penn Station. You see the construction going on in there. That kind of hampers our efforts to a degree, but they are really doing the best they can as far as getting these cameras installed and helping us out. I'll get back to Penn Station in just a moment. As a matter of fact, I might as well pick it up now. The safety concerns was the second item on this list. And it's about homeless individuals, panhandling, aggressive panhandling in Penn Station. Those, of course, are our biggest issues in Penn Station. We have numerous officers assigned specifically for the homeless outreach detail. We work with the BRC, that's the company that comes in and offers services to them. But as you well know, some people are very resistant to getting services, no matter how many times we offer to them. But we don't allow that to deter us from at least interacting with them and making certain that, can we help you? Is there something we can do for you? We try to keep them engaged, and we do not allow them to spread out. I mean, our customers are paying quite a bit of money for access, not just to the Long Island Railroad, but also getting back and forth to the subway system. And it's not right that they have to step over individuals or feel unsafe. Central Corridor, I know it has been a problem for a while. I put extra officers in there. As a matter of fact, I assigned 8 additional officers just for the homeless problem, the homeless situation. And I'm getting the cooperation I need as much as they can from the New York City Police Department, the Transit Bureau over there. But it is a chronic problem. I know it is. And I know we have some individuals that have been there for years. Homeless individuals that hang out down there. You've probably seen the new entrance there on 33rd Street. It's beautiful, it's very nice, but it also started to attract more homeless individuals on the street level, so that people had to dodge them, the aggressive panhandlers and some of the other individuals that hang out. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. It was only done last week. We had to do some construction, I guess you would call it. We put a police booth up on the street level there at the new 33rd Street entrance. They had those large, I call them ballards, to prevent people from driving vehicles in there. But the ballards were essentially large coffee tables. I mean, every time I looked at them, people were hanging out there, eating lunch and having discussions. So Penn Station, very accommodating for us. They put up this, I call it a triangular, I guess, teepee or structure on top of those. pyramids on top of those, to prevent people from doing that, from hanging around and having their lunch and having card games, whatever else they were doing. Those have been effective to a point, but we still have a chronic issue of keeping people moving through that area. And that's why the police booth is there as well. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but they did a nice job. They got the police booth up there. I keep it manned so that, there's always a police presence on that level. But going back down, I don't want to, let me say street level for a moment. Another major hangout was the 32nd Street and 7th Avenue entrance. I mean, that we're under the overhang for the Madison Square Garden. That has been a chronic thorn in my side. I've gotten some assurances from the local precinct that they will help us out with some drug operations and try to keep people out of that area. I put my own cops up there. Occasionally, the National Guard will accommodate me by putting people up there as well. They're there for counterterrorism. They can stay, up there. And also trying to narrow the construction that's being done up there, trying to narrow the amount of space that people can hang out. I find that offensive myself. It's supposed to be the entrance to Penn Station, the entrance to the garden. It's the entrance to the city, really, as you come up out of the station and you coming in from on Amtrak or from Long Island Railroad, and you're coming up the street level. it's an area that has been a chronic problem, but I am addressing it as best I can with the city's cooperation. So I think we have an aggressive plan in place. The city has announced that they are going to do a whole 34th Street corridor where they have 80 police officers assigned to help out, not just at Penn, but along the whole 34th Street location, stretching into Midtown, and in an effort to clean up the area. Herald Square has become a serious issue for them as well. So they're working in cooperation with us in those areas. As far as staffing goes, everybody knows the governor gave us a mandate, hire 500 police officers. That doesn't happen overnight. We are in the process of hiring them. I have 47 recruits in the police academy, but it's a 6-month training program. And when they come out, they have to do some additional training. But I've also already picked up 100 police officers who will be graduating and hitting the streets. And they will be dispersed throughout the system, not just in the city, but out in the far reaches, Long Island, and even a few upstate. So I have to, take a look at the situation in each area and, of course, deploy them appropriately based upon the amount of area they're covering, the amount of issues, crime issues or homeless issues or everything else that's involved in assessing these deployments. But we're getting there, Right now, it's a difficult time for every police department across the country. It's not really a desirable occupation right now. We've gotten a lot of negative press. And as a result, some other cities are offering incentives. They're hiring people with incentives, cash incentives or other incentives. But everybody's having a difficult time getting people on board right now. So, we'll get there. It's taken a little bit longer than I would like, but we'll get those 500 additional officers that the governor has mandated. And, I already mentioned the deployment and what I use when I'm talking about deploying officers, the amount of area they're covering, the amount of issues, homelessness, crime, other issues that are of concern. That's how I determine where the officers get deployed. The next item up on your agenda here had to do with training. I'm very happy to announce that we were able to purchase a firearms simulator. It's a state-of-the-art firearm simulator. In fact, I invite you, if you dare, come in and try it out for yourself. See what the experience is like. You enter a room, and that's what it is. It's a room, and they put up different scenarios on the screen so that it looks like you're walking in the hallway, you're walking on the street, you're in a different section of a train station, and they will, set you up with different scenarios that you have to work your way through. I found it very interesting. The number of times that people go in there and they think they've got a good grasp of things. They draw their weapon, they end up firing a number of rounds. They say, well, how many rounds did you fire? I said, I fired 3. No, you fired like 10. You just didn't know it because of the intense situation that they put you in. You kind of lose track. And it's enlightening to see these officers go through this type of training. But I do invite you, if you dare, it's on Randall's Island, all right? You can come down, you can try it yourself, or at least observe it yourself and see what it's like. I think it's very valuable training. And then it teaches the officers, you don't have to draw the gun, you can draw the taser, you can draw something else. It gives them options, but it puts them in tense situations, real life situations. And I think it's an excellent purchase that we made. It was not inexpensive, but I think it was certainly worth the money. As far as raising visibility on patrol on trains and in stations, I'm happy to say that we did receive extra funding for overtime to do train patrols. And that's something I know everybody's asking for, train patrols. I am able to put officers on certain trains throughout the day based on these grant programs, this grant money that we have gotten for some overtime that I can put out there. But outside of that, the officers going from station to station in their vehicles when they're not being called on a job and just touching base with the individuals that work at the station, whether it's somebody that's an MTA employee or somebody that's a town employee or somebody that's there that knows how to get in touch with us if they have an issue and keeps us apprised of what's going on. There are some chronic locations, you know what they are better than I do. Almond Station, it's a chronic location. We have issues there that we have to address. We have issues in Hempstead. We have issues and of course, in Penn Station, Anchor Station. So these are places where the officers have to give particular attention and particular concern. The biggest issue, as we already discussed, homelessness is a problem. It's not really a police problem, but it's a problem that the police do address. You know, we do our best to give them services if they're willing to accept services. And like I said, our partners in the BRC and in homeless services units help us out as best they can. But there are some hardcore individuals that just resist services no matter how many times we approach them. The enforcement of the mask compliance. Hopefully, this is going to start to subside. I just saw in the CDC today, they're reducing the amount of time or space or regulations, I guess you would call them, where you have to wear a mask. But I know there are some very contentious issues, not just on the trains themselves, but even on the street. People yelling at each other, getting into arguments with each other. My wife, who's probably the most mild-mannered person in the world, got yelled at by somebody because she came out to the parking lot of the supermarket and took her mask off before she got to the car, and some woman started yelling at her. This is a serious issue, you know, whether or not, you know, you feel safe in the presence of somebody who's not wearing the mask. And people get very passionate, is the word I'll use, on this mask compliance. But once again, I think the CDC is loosening up. Hopefully, all of us can do away with the mask, although I think I'll keep mine on a little bit longer. We can do away with the mask, and hopefully that situation subsides on its own. I think I've covered the agenda, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Yes, sir.
Pretty much.
Mr. McGrath, I just have a question for you. When you were talking about cameras,
Yes.
are you responsible also for like cameras on trains and things of that nature? Is that part of your?
Okay. Are we responsible for them? No, but you know, we monitor them. We don't even monitor them really. We do not install them. We do not monitor them, but we do use them when an issue arises. We'll get a phone call from Long Island Railroad station master. We'll get a phone call, excuse me, we'll get a phone call from one of the conductors or motormen, somebody, and we can go back and grab the images or the footage from that camera and use it to solve whatever the issue might be, solve a crime, locate somebody whose bag has been misplaced or stolen. So although we do not install them and we do not maintain them, we do have access to them when necessary.
So the cameras that are on the trains are not monitored. They're only pulled. The data is only pulled when needed.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, even on the trains that have the forward-looking cameras, nobody's looking at that until there's an incident. You know, unfortunately, we have a train versus vehicle versus a pedestrian versus somebody else, but there's nobody sitting there staring at that video feed.
And what about the ones at stations? That are those cameras being monitored someplace?
Yes, those cameras are being monitored. I have a number of those cameras, especially in Penn Station. I have a number of those cameras next to my front desk at the district there in Penn Station, so that they can be monitored by the desk officer. And if he sees something, those cameras we have in strategic locations, problem locations, that's where we have them. There are other cameras in different locations that are not monitored, but our problem locations, public locations, they are monitored.
Okay, and I would love to try your simulator.
Oh, please. Oh, you'll be sorry, but you know, I shouldn't say that. Maybe you'll do very well, better than me anyway, you know.
I've been in one once before and I would love to try it again.
Really? Okay. You give me a call. We're on Randall's Island. We'll set it up.
You got it.
Okay.
You have any other questions for the chief?
Yes, Lisa.
Did you say that there are, I just want to say, a dozen Amtrak police officers for the entire Northeast Corridor?
I hate to speak for Marty Conway. I'd have to get the exact number from Marty. It's a low number is what I'm saying.
But I mean, when you say Northeast Corridor, that's like Boston to.
Yeah, Boston to New York, and you know,
Right.
he's spread thin. There's no question about it. He's spread thin.
Right. That's, I guess whenever I hear Amtrak has a situation under control, Amtrak's in charge of Penn Station, it's Amtrak Station, I think of them as having more of a presence than,
Well, then don't
maybe a
use the
quarter
dozen
of their-
number until I find out from Marty himself. You know, I don't want to put Marty in a bad situation.
right, even if it were 12, even if it were 12 people who were there on a rotating basis. That's still not as many as I would like to think were there.
It's spread thin. Yes, it's spread thin.
Now, the governor's mandate to hire more people, is that spread out through Amtrak? Yeah, I mean, where does that, is that just, and is that just transit police, or how does?
And-
That's
MTA
MTA Police Department. That's
That's all
just the
MTA, okay.
MTA Police.
And in your additional, the police, the additional overtime that's approved for train patrols,
Yes.
is that, how much additional overtime is that? I mean, is that, because there's good overtime that, and this is good overtime,
I guess so. That's good overtime.
right?
Okay, yes.
So, what is there? Is it go from, like, maybe there could be, one crew per shift that went from, say, Ronkonkoma to Penn Station, and then then went to Grand Central, and then because you travel north, you're on Metro North too, right?
Yes, we are.
So you have your, how many people do you have altogether now?
Right now, 950, but
Okay.
50 of them are in the police academy, 47
Right.
are in the police academy.
Right. So do you portion your teams by railroad?
We apportion the teams by the amount of area they cover, like I said, and the amount of crime or issues. I try to keep it, as even as possible, based upon those issues. So for the most part, it's fairly even. I would have to say that there's probably more, please don't tell Metro North, probably more out east, because I'll be hearing from them next. But there's probably a few more out east than there are up north, based upon the amount of issues that we have out east.
But the people who ride on the Long Island Railroad are generally the ones who stay on the Long Island Railroad, and the ones who ride on
Yes,
Metro.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're divvied up by region.
So they know the chronic issues. We hear about some people problems at Hicksville and at Babylon. So the officers are familiar with those stations and with the people who work at them.
Yes, District 1 has a steady cadre of officers. That's Suffolk County. They work in Suffolk County. That's where they're assigned. District 2 is Nassau County. That's where they're assigned. So they are familiar with those issues. District 3 is Jamaica, but it also covers Brooklyn. It covers the Atlantic Terminal in Brooklyn. So yeah, those officers are assigned to those areas, and that's where they stay.
Is there a sharing agreement on the properties? Jerry tells a story that I won't tell, Jerry, because it's about how far you can go in a station.
Well, there are specific areas that we patrol, but if there's an issue, a serious issue that needs to be addressed, we will certainly address. I mean, we have a mutual aid. Something's happening in the subway, and we're right there. We'll help the transit police department, the transit bureau police officers, and vice versa. If they see there's an issue in Penn Station and they're right down there in the subway, they'll come up and they'll help us out as well. We're not, set like that, but we do have, areas of responsibility.
Thank
Great.
you.
Any other questions for the chief?
All right, I'm going to ask one, and if you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer.
Go ahead.
Larry, come on.
Don't you like when somebody starts out with a question with that?
Yeah, when they preface it.
Just in
I can
regard,
hardly wait.
just in regard to the command structure in Penn Station in the event of a godforsaken emergency, is there a command structure?
Yes,
in case
there is.
something, God forbid, happens?
There is absolutely a
How's that for my
command structure.
wording?
No, there is absolutely a command structure. Amtrak, of course, has responsibility. They own the facility, so they are the lead, if you want, in charge. But we are probably the bigger presence, and so we are there to assist. And as is the Transit Bureau, the NYPD's Transit Bureau, they'll assist. But it is, it's an Amtrak facility. They own it. But we are there, and it's, we will help out as best we can.
Well, that's a little bit of a concern. I mean, seeing how Amtrak's only got a handful of guys and you've got a lot,
Well, I'll say
they
this.
would be the lead. That's, I would be more comfortable if you were the lead or NYPD was the lead, then,
Well, I'll say this, in reality, NYPD is the big dog in town.
Yeah.
All right. NYPD is going to swoop in, and they have the resources and they have the personnel and they have all of that. NYPD has the expertise for the most part. And like I say that because I was there for 30 years. I know what they have, what their capabilities are. If something happened in Grand Central, by the way, same thing. The NYPD would be here in a flash.
Yeah, it's just with the alphabet soup, you just kind of like wonder, is there a command structure of who is somebody talking to somebody and everybody talking to everybody else in case, God forbid, emergency happens.
Absolutely. We talk to each other all the time. We have interoperability on our radios so that we can communicate with each other, something that we did not have that long ago. We're still in the process of tweaking it, but it's something that's taken us a long time to accomplish, and I'm glad to see that we're just about there.
Oh, Chief, I got to thank you. You were a lot more forthcoming. I'd asked that question a few years back, and it was almost like, well, if we tell you, we have to kill you.
No.
Not the commands. But that's been a concern for a long time about, like Larry calls it, the alphabet soup. You got so many different organizations working there. It's like, well, if something happens, who's pulling this all together? But as long as we know there's
the NYPD is the big dog in town. They're going to show up and they're going to say, oh, that's nice, you're in charge. Okay, well, we're going to do it this way. And that happens to be the reality of the situation. They had the expertise and the personnel and everything else.
And Chief, just to add to Larry's question, within the coordination between all the different players, do you guys do like things like tabletop exercises, like scenario kind of planning, like this is going to happen, so your team does this, we'll do this, and we've got you over here? Does that?
As a matter of fact, we have another tabletop coming up next week.
Oh, awesome.
So we do tabletop exercises. This one because of the new Moynihan Station, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So they've developed a tabletop. Who's going to do what, who's responsible for what, should something happen in Moynihan Station.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, Chief, I want to thank you for your time. And I also want to thank you for the post at the top of the 33rd Street entrance. That had been a concern. In fact, we were talking to the IG a couple of weeks ago, and amazingly, within a few days, I go up and they're building pyramids on top of the coffee tables.
Yes.
A post up there, and it was like, did you whisper in somebody's ear? It's like, so from the commuters, we really appreciate that.
Yes, in fact, I reached out to MTA Construction and said, whoever did that, we want to buy them coffee.
But don't put it on that table. I'll be,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Chief,
That's great. We've been joined by several people. So Randy is the head of our Metro North Commuter Council, who you know, and we've been joined by Charlton and Andy from Passengers United as well, and Hector from the Long Island Railroad. I had one other question about BRC.
yes.
and your interaction with them and how that is and how you think it could be better and how we can help to improve that.
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue. There's been a recent change where we will not be paying for the MTA will not be paying the BRC. The city will be paying the BRC. So it remains to be seen. I'm hoping that the relationship is better. It's good now, but I hope it's better because, as things change, we have to adapt ourselves. I think they've been very receptive to our requests. When we say we have an issue in this location or that location, they've always responded. They have a tough job. I give them a lot of credit. That's a job that's not for everybody, but they do the best they can with some of these hardcore homeless people that we have been discussing, the ones that will never accept services and are always seem to be an issue in these different locations, and not just Penn Station, but also in Grand Central and other locations. It's a heavy issue. I'm hoping that things with the BRC get better than they have been, and they have been good already. So we'll see how it goes. Yes, Randy, how are you?
All right. I hate to say it's a complaint, but when I was in Penn last week, I saw too many places where we had 2 or 3 of your men and all women standing around together, chatting and having cell phones in hand, and it really looks terrible. I mean, can we? Are there any rules like where that they need to be dispersed, that they should be walking around like patrol people walking and seeing things? It just doesn't look right, especially
Okay.
with all the heat about in the subways.
I'll start off by saying that the cell phone is the bane of my existence. If there was one thing I could change, I'd get those cell phones. I mean, it's nice they have them because when we need them and we need to get in touch with them, it's great. But I agree with you. They shouldn't be staring at it like, my teenager did, just staring at the phone instead of people going by. And I do raise that as an issue with their supervisors. The officers, for the most part, do patrol in pairs for safety reasons, safety concerns. Some of them do have fixed posts. We were just talking about that police booth at the top of the stairs there at the new 33rd Street entrance. So, there'll always be, there should at least be 2 officers up there to address the concerns up there. But when they start congregating, as you point out, in groups of 3, 4, 5, 6, I came down the stairs myself one time, and there had to be at least 6 of them standing together, chatting. And we break that up as much as we can. It's human nature. I get it. It is something that's a constant struggle. But yeah, we do have regulations where they're supposed to be out there on patrol if they're not in one of those fixed booths or fixed locations.
Thank
And
you very much.
Chief, if I could just add on real quick, is it true that often sometimes when they are looking at their cell phones, that they're actually looking at data or communication within the agency?
Yes, many times we'll come up with somebody who's wanted for something. We'll take, for instance, the individual that fired those shots in Times Square the other day and then hit the little kid and then 2 other people. His photo went out instantaneously over people's cell phones, and yes, that's why we like them to have them. It's a double-edged sword. We like them to have them so that we can communicate when we need to communicate. But there are other times when I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're staring at it for 8 hours for
Right.
some official reason, but you're correct. We do use them for that reason.
I was going to add something, Chief, if I may.
Sure.
I'm Charlton from Passengers United. Is there any way that you can add a post between, the brand new Monaghan Station, the West End Concourse over there
Yes.
by the ACE and
Sure.
8th Avenue Concourse? Because I was talking to one of your police officers the other day, and I was telling him there's no one guarding that entire area. It's very dark over there. And he suggested that they put 1 officer there in a booth. That would really help over there because there's a lot of drug dealing going on over there, a lot of homeless individuals sleeping. I'm talking about, when you come out of the main Penn Station area, it's
Right.
down by the turnstiles,
Yes,
by
I
the
know.
AC&E.
I know the area you're talking about. It is a chronic location. And, it's funny, we were talking about before about people's areas of responsibility. It's something that both the Transit Bureau and my people are supposed to be concerned on. And as a result, nobody, goes in, oh, no, that's transit. No, that's the MTA. That is a chronic issue, and I will address that. I'm glad you brought that up.
And also, I'm noticing at night, we're seeing a lot of cops, like you said, 7 cops sitting together, maybe split them up in 2s. And also, they're homeless sleeping on the platforms now. I don't know if you're aware of that. And they're
Okay.
going inside the trains. When the trains terminate, they go inside the trains, they're going inside the restrooms, hiding inside the restrooms. Many conductors have found homeless individuals inside the restrooms. And it's becoming a real problem in the LIR trains storage over there.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that one. I did know about them coming down to the platforms. I did not know about them hiding out in the restrooms while the trains are laid up.
Yes.
Okay, that's something we're gonna have to address.
And also in the new Monaghan train station, They're
Yes.
now coming in there now. The other day I went into the restroom. I saw a
Right.
guy taking off his shirt and his pants and washing himself in the restroom. Now I understand they're
Mhm.
homeless. I
Yeah.
get that. But I thought in Monaghan they were going to have strict rules on that, in the restrooms. And it seems like I've noticed even with the Amtrak cops, sometimes they get so bored, everyone's just talking, but they're not really paying attention. So like if they could just have their eyes wandering around looking for a problem, and then sometimes when you approach the cops and you make a suggestion to them, some of them will tell you, oh, it's NYPD, or some of them will tell you it's not our job, or they'll
Yeah.
come up with an excuse about the mayor, or you know what I mean. And I
I
understand
know what you
that.
mean. Yes.
And I respect your police officers. They're doing a good job. Unfortunately, our governor has done a lot of things. I'm not going to get into that, but we need them to be alert, and we do support them, and we're proud of them.
Thank you. That's a supervisory issue. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and on Hollis Station in Hollis, Queens, we're also having issues where people are smoking weed. Even at Queens Village, we see people smoking weed on the platforms, marijuana, there's drug sales going on. If you can do something about that, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Certainly.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
so Chief, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you. You've been terrific. Thank you so much.
Yes.
No, thank you for
Thank you.
inviting me. I appreciate it. Larry, I expect to see you in my simulator one day.
You
I will
might,
send you an email.
you might see
That
me
invite
too.
goes out to Mr. Glucksman as well. If you want to try our firearm simulator sometime, you're welcome to come to Randall's Island, give it a try.
I will send you an email.
I think we
Okay.
should do a field trip.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you,
Thank
sir.
you so
Thank you.
much.
All righty, so we now have enough for a quorum, so we'll go back to the top of our agenda. So I need a motion to approve.
Motion to
Approving
approve
an
the
agenda that
agenda.
we've already kind of modified because we moved the chief to the front. But other than that, would like to approve the rest of the agenda. Larry?
Motion to approve.
All right, do we have a second?
Second that.
All right, seconds, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, so the agenda is good.
I think I'm playing with a yes.
Did anyone get a chance to look at the meeting minutes? I didn't see anything that was wrong with them, but
I mostly
We have
look to make
meeting-
sure Larry's name is
motion
spelled
to
right.
approve?
Motion to approve minutes.
Okay,
I will second that.
all right, do I have a second?
Second. Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, so we're good. So go down to the chair's report. Alrighty, we have a new member, the first new member in a couple of years. That's Miss Christy Tolbert from Wyandanch. We welcome Christy aboard. We're still waiting on word on a second Suffolk member. And actually now we have an additional vacancy with Sheila Carpenter's official departure from the council. We're still waiting on Nassau County to submit names up to Albany. You would think because of the relationship with the railroad people that work for the county that we would have been all right, but unfortunately not. And we're still awaiting word on my name being sent to the New York State Senate to be confirmed for the MTA board position. Lisa represented the council at a press conference in Oyster Bay where the Long Island Railroad announced its pilot program with the BMUs, which are dual mode battery electric retrofitted M7 trains that we hope could start running on the Oyster Bay line within the next year or so. If successful, they could replace electrification projects that would cost a total of $17 billion across Long Island. Basically, what they were talking about, Oyster Bay would be the pilot because that's probably the smallest, the shortest run. And then if it worked out well in Oyster, because they could run from Port Jefferson to Huntington and then pick up the electric. I don't really see it anywhere else in the system, but we'll see what happens after they get the first ones running. We had a meeting with the MTA Inspector General regarding the homeless problem in Penn Station and throughout the MTA system. The MTA still has several open items, including its memorandum of understanding with New York City. And now we understand that maybe it's just going to be straight New York City. So we anticipate any open items would come to the board during the summer, and hoping the safety committee will give a full report on new initiatives being developed to deal with the homeless problem. As I mentioned, talking to the chief in response to commuter complaints about homeless panhandlers at the 33rd Street entrance to Penn Station, pyramids have been built on top of what the chief called as coffee tables, and that's about what they were being used for, coffee tables and seating. So they built triangles on top of those, and they put a new MTA post established at that location. The New York State Senate held a hearing on the East River Tunnel repairs and East Side access. Lisa testified, and there were renewed efforts to get Amtrak to use the racking system that was used on the L&F trains. The main point was that Amtrak will start work after ESA opens, and continues to state that they cannot use the racking system, but was not specifically been studied. We made the point that there is still time to do the study and what will work best to reduce inconvenience for commuters. So it looks like finally something will get done with the East River tunnels. Exactly how and how long it will take still remains to be seen. On May 11th, we met with Long Island Railroad President Phil Lang and Metro North President Kathy Rinaldi and others to discuss the possible expansion of the Freedom Ticket. We will continue to have conversations and hope to hear back with any issues and concerns they have within the next few weeks. And one thing I didn't have on my report, but I just want to add that we are still reaching out to our electeds on trying to get the WageWorks issue resolved with the IRS. No luck yet, but we are getting positive responses from the electeds. But it's crazy the amount of money some of these people have out there. I heard of somebody just the other day who found out that he's going to be able to work from home permanently. He got $1,300 tied up. That's crazy. But we'll see what we can do. I know Lisa's still working on it on her end with, her connections, and we'll take it from there. Is Hector here yet?
Hector is down there. He's in the corner.
Hector's in the corner. Okay, I could only see like 4 people on my screen, so.
I just want to add one thing on the WageWorks. I had sent copies of our letter that we had sent to Representative Rice, who was one of the leads of the letter, who had sent a letter to the IRS and to the Treasury Department last year, and they finally got back to me and said that they too were reaching out again to the Treasury Secretary and hoping to hear back soon. That they heard that the new administration was not responding to any of the old administration's correspondence, which is understandable. And Senator Schumer's office is having a meeting with people from WageWorks, and we were able to get them a contact there, which we were very appreciative of, having a meeting with somebody at WageWorks this week. So that's progress. So it's slow, but it's going in the right direction. On the New Jersey side, Len Resto, who is an advocate who Randy knows well, has been working with somebody who came to us after having read the New York Times article, who is trying to work with his member of Congress to work on from that side as well. So we're working.
And there's one trivial thing that I can add to this that Jerry and Lisa both don't know, because it's just happened today. The governor is now aware of WageWorks. He didn't know anything about it. I talked to him today about it for like 30 seconds with him. So I was talking to him for a couple of minutes this morning, and he just asked me what's going on, and I talked to him, and he's like he's gonna have one of his people look into it. Whether or not,
make sure you have a copy of the letter that we sent so that you can.
This was verbal, right to me to him.
Great.
Standing on the side of the road between the two of us. So.
Terrific. Great.
Len Resto is the president of the New Jersey Association of Railroad Passengers. It's an organization that I've been a member of for many years.
Thank you.
Ready? So without further ado, Hector, you're up.
What am I going to talk about?
Well, we gave you a couple of things, summer update.
What would you like to talk about?
been a long day. Oh, summer service. So yeah, we're resuming our traditional summer service. The carnival is going to come back on the, at the end of the month for Memorial Day weekend. There had been, and it's gonna continue coming out of Penn Station, like we've been doing the last few years. There's not going to be any reserve seating, and for the most part, we're offering the full summer service that we've been offering recently, with some minor tweaks. One or two trains aren't gonna run, and then the cars aren't gonna be the concerts are gonna be slightly shorter, because we're gonna not raid other branches to be able to provide longer concerts. So we're gonna see how that goes. So we hope that the Oyster Bay and Port Jeff customers don't get inconvenienced as much. So
Hector, fare wise, is it going to stay? We going to be staying on off-peak fare?
I mean, right now it's as of now, yes. I haven't heard anything differently yet. So as of now, we're still off peak.
It was last Friday, I took the 4:30 out of Hunters Point, which Jerry very wisely avoided. And it was crowded. I mean, the last car had some seats that I could see on the app, but it was, it was not, forget people not sitting next to each other. It was crowded. So it's, on one hand, it's good to see it coming back. There weren't people standing in the aisles yet, but it definitely seemed to be coming close to that. I too will be avoiding that train in the future.
You're going to be monitoring to make sure that if they need more cars, you'll be doing that, right?
Well, right now it's a 5-car train. So we'll see what happens. 5 cars is good for the regular week, but when you hit Fridays, it gets a little tight.
The other update you wanted was about the Penn Station vendors. There's a little hiccup with them. So based on all the construction that's happening there, they're working on the ceiling, and the sprinkler systems have been removed in a lot of the areas there. So it's created a fire hazard thing that we have to work through with our code compliance to, where they can set up safely. So right now, one of their spots they wanted to set up, and they can't do it. And then they don't want to open up unless they can have two areas so that they can, make money. Otherwise, it's not worth it for them. So we're trying to work through that to get them, operating. What else? I don't remember.
Victor, how's the reliability, I guess is the word I want to use, on the new trains? What have we seen that they've passed muster, so to speak?
Yes, I know Phil reported on it back in February to the board. I mean, they're performing better than what they're required to perform, the new M9s. So, they've had some slight quality issues that we've been working through, but then once they're in operation, they've been operating very well.
Okay.
So Hector, with the vendors, what does that mean that there are issues and hiccups? Does that mean that there's a new timetable for them opening, or?
Well, they should have been open by now, so they're not open yet. So right now we have to go through the code compliance to get them, so they can open. So just that, to me, I mean, it just got raised to me this week, so I wasn't aware of it before that was an issue. So, but it just popped up.
Do you know how much extra time that adds?
I do not know how much extra time it is.
Is there anything?
Oh, actually for this? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, is there any extra time? Is there anything that we can do to support them opening?
Well, right now, again, there's temporary sprinklers. So if the fire marshal is saying that it's not safe, then we have to try to, what needs to be done. Can anything be done to make it acceptable for them to operate? It's really what we have to work through.
Yeah, John Mitchell is trying to get into the Zoom meeting, but he can't get in for some reason. Can someone look into that?
Is that who the 516 number is?
Yes.
Well, he's in.
Okay.
Just on his phone.
Yeah, and also, Hector, if we may, thank you so much. We have filed a complaint with the Federal Transit Administration regarding the lack of shuttle buses on the Long Island Railroad main line on the weekends. Several commuters who are disabled and who are senior citizens have reached out to us because they're saying that the N22 and the N24 bus is very unreliable. In fact, Nice Bus changed the schedule on weekends. And the problem is 2 Sundays ago, John Michno, who's one of our members, he was stranded for almost 2 hours in Hicksville because he couldn't get a Nice Bus broke down. And the bus was very crowded. And by the time the bus went to Roosevelt Field Mall, got stuck in the traffic, it was a complete mess. So we're going to be putting out a press release, which I'll send to the PCEC and to Lisa regarding the need for a new bus route called the N29, which is a special shuttle bus, which will be operated either by the MT or NICE, and it'll just make mainline stops. And this thing about, making people go to Hempstead, the Hempstead branch is empty on the weekends. So a lot of people don't want to go to Hempstead from Mineola or any of the mainline stations. They just want the shuttle bus from Hicksville, making all those stops. And if someone bought a weekly or a monthly, they should get that service. But that's all I'm going to say. I'll let Lisa, say that more. Thank you.
Right, folks, as we go through it, Hector, we'll do the board members first, and then we'll do the visitors for questions. Just try and keep things organized. All righty. Hector, I think the only other thing, not everybody saw the press conference on the M7s, the battery electric multiple units. Can you just give us a quick, quick summary on
Yeah, so basically, we're working with Alstom, Bombardier. They're the ones that built the M7s. They got acquired last year by Alstom. So it's an agreement we have with them that for 8 months to figure out what it's going to take to make this operational. That they have to determine, where they can place the batteries, what has to be moved out of the car to make it fit. And what else is required in terms of the charging stations and they kind of work out the technical details to make sure that it works. And then once that's completed by the end of the year, the next year we would give them 2 cars so they can retrofit them with batteries and set up the charging station and actually start running it on the Oyster Bay branch, testing it out, making sure I can get it all the way to Penn.
Yep.
And once that works, then the plan would be, then we have to make a decision, is say our number right now is 27 cars will be retrofitted with this and replace all service on the Oyster Bay branch with these battery trains, which will free up equipment to add to the Montauk and other lines. And then after that, then it would be, okay, what branch do we look at next to start extending this? So one of the things also they're going to study is we know that they told us that at a yard we have a charging station that it'll take however long to charge it, but then when a train stops at a station or while it's running on third rail, can it get recharged in that way? Like for example, on the Montauk branch, can you maybe electrify small sections that as it's going through? Will that be sufficient enough? So, but that's more for the future to make it work on longer branches.
Great.
And then it's good time because as before we get into the next capital program in a few years, this information will help us then determine what our ask is going to be in the 20-year needs and for the next capital program, because then electrification was going to take a very long time, but now that makes it more realistic. And even with the next generation of fleet, if this works, then as opposed to continuing retrofitting, we'll just add this as a requirement for any future fleet to just come with the electric batteries on them.
Okay, great. Lisa, I can't only see it. Can you see if anybody has their hands up for Hector before we let him go?
John Michno had a comment.
John, I'm reading that. John has a comment for Hector. Okay, John, you are muted. John is the only one who can unmute himself. Okay.
Is he done? Did he unmute? Okay,
Still,
all right.
I see Andy has his hand raised.
Hello, Hector. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to make this brief. Since all the restrictions are getting lifted on Wednesday, is the Long Island Railroad going to fully evaluate returning the schedule to full 100% pre-March 11th last year?
No, as of now, we're staying at where we're at right now until further
Oh,
notice.
okay. So is there a chance that it may get reevaluated, maybe even past July 4th, maybe?
I mean, I think the next, unless something, unless ridership increases very dramatically. I mean, we're still, even though it's been increasing over the last month or so,
Correct.
we're still only at about 30% on a normal weekday. So I think there's still, I mean, I would think it would be for like, say, September or the fall that we will look to.
Right,
increase
that would be logical. Yes, there's always best case where you could wait until Labor Day. And I'll just mention to all the members, May 7th, 101,000 riders, which is a very good stat to bring up. So that's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had a point for Hector. I wanted to know, what is the situation with the crowding on the railroad? Because the trains have been very crowded of late in the evenings. And is there a plan to add more service in the summer schedule for the trains leaving Penn Station?
As of now, no.
Okay. And because John Michno said he's trying to press *6, but he still can't get in. So I don't know if it's on your end, guys, or it's on his end.
Not on our end.
Yeah, it must.
He is in. We see his phone number. We
See his
see
phone
that he's in.
number.
He has to
Oh.
mute himself.
He has to
Okay.
unmute himself.
All right. I don't know how he does that or what it says on the phone. But basically, John's comment was basically about adding a shuttle bus. At least have 2 shuttle buses at either end, one at Hicksville and one at Floral Park, where they both meet each other. And all you need is 2 buses on the main line, just something for the disabled people and something for the elderly, because a lot of them are on fixed budgets and they cannot walk to the N24 on Jericho Turnpike because it's very far. And the waiting, for the bus. So they just want a dedicated shuttle that is well advertised and posters are put up. That's all we're asking for. And Lisa, I'm sure you can look into this. If you have any questions, you can agree. And John Michno just sent me a message saying, please help. He's begging Hector and Philip Eng to do this. So that's all I got to say.
Well, the next weekend outage, mainline outage is June 12th weekend. We are exploring trying to do something during the overnight hours when there is no nice bus, but it's premature to announce anything. But we are looking into it.
But why can MTA have coach buses come from Queens? Because Nice Bus breaks down. Their buses are horrible. Even their regular bus service does half their trips don't even go out. And this is something I'm sure the chairman and PCAC will agree with, is that if the MTA is spending money, it should be, maybe it would be cheaper to have MTA run the service and more reliable and even more accountable to have an MTA coach doing that service. All you need is maybe 2 or 3 or 4 coaches out, and overnight people are getting ripped off by the cabs. And also when they had the last service disruption on the railroad, and they were telling people there was no information being given out at Hicksville. That was when they had the fire in Westbury. It was horrible. The cabs were overcharging people. And a lot of people, are very upset about this. So there needs to be a plan in place, a contingency plan. And then you had shuttle buses sitting over in Farmingdale that weren't even being used. The coaches. I don't know what's going on, Hector, but you and Phil Eng, John Michno says, I want to speak. I'm hitting *6. He just sent me that message.
All right, well, if he can't get through, he can't get through. I mean,
There's nothing that's
Nothing we
happening
can
here on
do.
our end.
Okay. Or maybe someone can call him, I guess, and get him on. I don't know if they can.
No, we're not. No.
Okay, I understand. I understand. But Gerald, I will say one thing, Gerald, in all fairness, I'm sorry if you felt we were hijacking your meetings. That was not the case. And I do apologize for that if you felt that. It's just we don't get a chance to communicate with you. So if you would give me your personal email and Sal, I could communicate with you at times. But there's no way for us, so I'm sorry.
All right. All right, Hector? Hector?
Yes.
Before you go, I do want to thank you because those items at Hunters Point Avenue that I'd asked you about, the signage being removed with the old train schedules on them, that was taken care of, and the repair to the platform was made within a couple of days after we spoke. So I just wanted to
I think
thank you for that.
we have a cruise out there for the next few weeks that they're doing a lot of safety repairs just to get things safe. So they are right now they're actively working at the station to make it's not going to look pretty, but they're making addressing safety issues.
Well, that's the major concern. You're not going to make Hunters Point look pretty, that's for sure.
Yep.
But the safety issues are what's most important. And I thank you for that.
No problem.
All right, before Hector goes, any last calls?
Oh, any news on the Hollis Station capital program?
No news yet.
Okay. All right.
Ready, so that wraps up. Hector, we thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
So that would move us. All right, so that would move us down to old business. Is there any old business that we need to take care of that I didn't have included? Lisa, can you think of anything?
No, we gave an update on the wage works.
Okay.
So that's really what we've been working on most. Our old business is our new member.
Okay, well, I thought it was new business, but well.
Right, but some of it
Ongoing
we've been saying,
business.
right.
Hello? Hello? Now you can hear me?
Yeah.
See, now you can hear me. Okay, I was hitting star 6 over and over and over again, and it finally worked. I don't understand what's going on. But I just want to say that if you can hear me, that what happened last Thursday was unacceptable. There was nothing east of Hicksville. I don't understand why the whole main line had to be shut down. East around Concomate, east of Port Jefferson, they couldn't run trains between Hicksville and points east, and then the shuttle between there and Babylon. I had to take 5 buses. I almost had to call my relative. The problems with the main line, I'm just letting you know that it's getting so bad in my life that I'm going to have to move to the South Shore because of this. I need reliable transportation. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for hearing me out.
Okay. All right. Any new business?
Christy.
Oh, Misty. Misty, did you want to just take a moment to introduce yourself to the rest of the council, or I know we
Sure.
spoke
earlier.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So thank you all for welcoming me to the council and speaking with Lisa and Jerry this morning. I am a 13-year plus avid Long Island Railroad commuter. Due to COVID, that's slowed down, but that's picking back up slowly but surely. But, I joined because I definitely am the eyes and the ears of my daily commute. And I know that there's some concerns that I have of my own, and I'm glad that I'm able to hear that most of us share the same concerns as far as safety and other measures as well. So I'm definitely looking to work alongside all of you to be able to ensure that our matters are addressed and that our our daily commutes are of safe and I'm going to say cleanliness is one of my concerns. But matters. So thank you all for having me today and welcoming me.
Well, thank you, Christy. We look forward to working with you. All righty.
So Larry, today you were with the governor because he was making an announcement about Penn Access, which will bring Metro North
Any
trains
other
into
business, I'm
Penn
going to
Station.
have to turn
sorry.
it over to Larry to close it out because unfortunately.
Jerry, you're cutting in and out.
All right, Larry, it's all yours.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, he's proposed this all new program that the money I think is actually allocated where there's going to be more access, easier access, faster access into Penn Station, faster access from New Jersey and from Westchester County. So it's actually very ambitious. It was news to me this morning when he announced it, so I don't know much about the project. I'll know more in a couple of days.
So, right, so this is, the Penn Access project, Penn Station Access, would build 4 new stations in the Bronx, in the Northeast Bronx, including finally a station at Co-op City. And that will bring riders passengers into Penn Station over the Hell's Gate Bridge. And it's timed so that for 2025, so East Side Access would be open. That would take some of the crunch out of Penn Station from Long Island Railroad riders, and also it's supposed to coincide with the expansion of Penn Station with the additional tracks that would be part of the Empire Station complex.
Yeah, the interesting thing about it is that it sounded like the money's already been allocated in the budget. So that's very exciting. I mean, that's where we were. We were in Co-op City this morning, and it's actually an exciting additional project. I mean, there's a lot of projects that are going on right now. It really is amazing how many things are happening at one time.
Yeah, I don't agree. I think it should stop in Queens, like Astoria or Long Island City, because a lot of people in Queens work in the Bronx and may want to work in Connecticut or Westchester. So there should be a stop in Queens. And I'm going to speak to the congresswoman who represents that area, who's a good friend of mine, to get that in the budget. In fact, I spoke to the head of Capital Construction about that. And I had asked him to look into that 2 years ago. So I feel like Queens commuters are getting discriminated, but that's just my opinion. But I did
see some conversations on Twitter about that. But if you can get a stop in Queens, then I don't have to go through the tunnel. I'm happy too.
Oh, thank you, Lisa.
So there you go. But I know that there were some technological issues, or not technological, but I know that there were some
engineering issues with
that. So
yeah,
and
the one thing that excited me, because I used to fly so much, is AirTrain extension out to LaGuardia.
Yeah.
So even that's,
it just needs a better configuration.
Yeah.
So that it goes out of Metz Willets Point or extends the end line instead of going out of not Metz Willets Point, out of Woodside instead of Metz Willets Point.
But it'll either branch there or it may even branch down to Jamaica. It all depends on the impact, the environmental impact reports, and all this other crap that they have to go through.
Basically, right now it's an established plan that it would go out of Metz Willets Point, but that's not necessarily the best route. It's just the route that has been chosen
for the moment. It's not done yet. Not a done deal.
Okay, that would be great.
Oh, I forgot to ask about the cross honoring. Next week, the cross honoring ends on the railroad, and a lot of people were asking me overnight, because a lot of people don't want to get on the subway. Is there any way that y'all can talk to Hector and see if they could do that, or work out some miracle?
Here.
You have the subway back. What do you?
The subway is dangerous. No one wants to go down there. It's people are scared out of their misery. There's been too many muggings, too many slashings. Maybe y'all should keep that cross honoring for a few weeks till COVID ends or till the city gets their situation correct on the policing situation down there, because that would be a blessing if y'all could do that.
I think the goal is to get more people back on the subway.
Yeah, but the trains are so slow. The other night I was stuck on an E-train for an hour because of signal problems. We were stuck and the Queens Boulevard line was out. And Hector, they did honor my Metro card on the train on Friday when they did the cross honoring. So yes, your cross honoring system on the tablets, it's working. Your conductors are getting the notifications.
Okay, good.
All right, so I don't know if we have anything else. Lisa, we've covered all the old business. Do we have any other new business that we have to address?
I I think we're
Anybody else?
good.
Anybody else have any last comments?
Jones Beach bus service, the cross honoring with the Long Island Railroad tickets. Are they still doing that? The summer package, the beach packages?
Good question. I know the Long Beach, because up until the announcement this past week, City of Long Beach was still going to restrict on weekends. And then I believe we are going to have the Jones Beach package. I don't know if it's finalized, but I know they're discussing it.
Okay.
So I mean, it should be in place. I know, even though there was going to be restrictions at Jones Beach, that was only going to be for vehicles, but they were not going to restrict the buses or anybody coming from public transit. So.
And the Almond Station, is it complete? The Almond Station?
No, by the beginning of the hockey season this fall, we're going to have just an eastbound platform completed. So Hempstead branch trains will be able to stop eastbound. But then we have until next year to complete the full project with the overpass, the elevators, and the westbound platform.
And any news on East Side Access?
Like what kind of news?
Because
It's going to open next year.
Yeah, because we're seeing pictures of the platform finished, the tiles, everything's in. They just got to clean it up. It looks like it's done already.
It's almost done, but it'll be done by next year. We'll have trains running.
Wow.
And the East River tunnels. We'll start then.
That's the plan.
And any news on Amtrak? Amtrak was supposed to be going to Montauk. Remember that agreement that was signed by the railroad?
That's no time soon.
Okay.
Whether or not it's going to be in our lifetime, that's a different story, but that's not anytime in the near future.
Right. First they have to fix all of the everything first.
Existing infrastructure that's there now.
Yeah. Right.
All right. If there's
Okay.
no other business, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yes, I just would like, I have one thing to say, and that is our next meeting will be our PCAC meeting on June 3rd. At that meeting, PCAC will get a new chair for the first time in several years. That chair will be Jerry Brinkman. So please join us. We'll make sure that you put in your calendar. It's at noon. I know that that is not the desired time. The good news is it's virtual. So we will have that, we'll send that out. Depending on what everybody's timing is, hopefully we can do that at earlier in the agenda if that works. So that's at noon on June 3rd.
Oh, and we wanted to do a Zoom call, Lisa, with you and also the chairman of the LIRRCC Commuter Council for Passengers United, like a forum, a community forum. Is that possible that y'all could attend something like that? For
Well,
maybe 30
send me an
minutes?
email and and we'll talk about it in that way. Right now, it's really challenging because you are looking at the entire staff of PCAC and we're struggling mightily to keep up with what we can do.
All right.
Okay, so that's, let's see what we can do. It's not, it's just what we can fit into the hours of the day.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. It's my understanding you came for a press conference at the governor's office. I didn't know that you were there that day, but someone told me you were standing there.
Yeah.
And I would have gladly let you speak. Anytime you can have the microphone, you know that.
That's fine. It was a beautiful day and I was watching.
Okay. Sorry, for any misunderstanding. I didn't even know
Not
you
at
were
all.
there.
Not
Okay.
at all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Looks like we have a second to adjourn. All in
Yes.
favor?
Okay. See you
Hector,
all in
thank you
June.
very much for showing up. Andy,
Thank you.
Charlton, Ron, thank you for being here. And
Thank you.
Christy, welcome
you.
to the club.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
hopefully
Welcome.
one day in person.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Welcome.
Thank you.